The hall of the Galactic Council was built to feel eternal. Wide arcs of stone and light curved above the delegates. Stars moved slowly across the open dome. Not real stars, but careful images, meant to calm those who met beneath them. The council had seen wars rise and fade for thousands of cycles. It believed it had learned all possible shapes of conflict. When the human delegation entered,
Our most eyes barely follow them.
They arrived without ceremony. No banners, no guards in bright armor. Just three figures walking at an even pace. Ambassador Taisu walked in the center. To his left was Yunha, quiet and observant. To his right was Sora, carrying a thin data slate. Their clothes were dark and simple, without marks of rank. Several council members exchanged private signals. The humans looked calm. To calm, that alone made them seem small. The speaker of the council began in a smooth voice. The speaker welcomed the humans and spoke of misunderstandings and trade tensions. The words were old and familiar. Many species had stood where the humans stood now. Taisu listened without moving. His face showed no anger, no pride. When the speaker finished, the hall waited for noise. It waited for protest or threats or emotional words. Taisu stepped forward. "Humanity thanks the council for this time," he said. His voice carried easily, without force. "We are here to deliver a formal statement." Some delegates leaned back. Others stopped listening. Sora placed the data slate on the central platform. Light spread outward as the system accepted it. The council's legal engines began to read. Yuna watched the room. She saw small changes. A pause in the air. A delay in the light. Taisu continued speaking. After repeated violations of human space, interference with our colonies, and the refusal of binding mediation, humanity declares a state of war against the Galactic Council as a governing body. The words were simple. They were clear. They were complete. For one full second, nothing happened. Then the hall filled with sound. Laughter came first. Some delegates clicked in amusement. Others released colored pulses of disbelief. A few spoke loudly, asking if this was a translation error. The speaker raised a limb for silence, still amused. "Ambassador Taisu," the speaker said, "the council recognizes your concern. But this chamber does not accept unilateral declarations from a junior species." Taisu nodded once. "We expected that response," he said. Inha touched her console. New data flowed into the system. Not a request. Not a demand. Just information across the hall. Several analysts stiffened. Simulation cores began to run. At first, the results showed what everyone expected. Humanity was strong for its age, but small. Its fleets were limited. Its reach was short. The council had seen this before. Then the numbers changed. Se-Jin, a junior analyst seated near the back, leaned closer to his screen. The projections were updating too fast. Inputs were arriving from human space, but also from regions far beyond it. "That's not possible," he whispered. The system did not agree. The laughter in the hall began to fade. The speaker cleared their voice. "Organs Ambassador," the speaker said. "Are you attempting to influence council systems?" "No," Taisu replied. "We are sharing public data." Yuna spoke for the first time. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "These are fleet movements," she said. "They began 7 minutes ago." A ripple of confusion spread. 7 minutes ago was before the humans had entered the hall. A senior commander demanded a feed from the outer defense lines. The image appeared above the floor. Human vessels were visible, not massed together, not advancing in lines. They were already present, holding position near key relay points. How did they get there? Someone shouted. Se-Jin single quotes, his hands shook as he worked. "They didn't move in," he said. "They were already moving quietly for months." Council had sensors everywhere. Or so it believed. Taisu waited for the noise to die down. "Humanity does not declare war to threaten," he said. "We declare war to define reality." Another simulation ended. This one showed council response time. It stretched longer with each update. Command delays grew. Supply routes failed. Communication nodes dimmed. EUNHA watched one projection freeze. They are predicting us, a strategist said in disbelief. Before we choose, Sora adjusted the display. No, she said. We predicted you. The words were not spoken with pride. They were spoken as fact. The speaker's tone hardened. This council has survived empires, they said. You believe preparation alone makes you equal? Taisu met the speaker's gaze. No, he said. We believe preparation makes us ready. Another alert sounded. A soft one. The kind reserved for internal errors. A defense. Relay went offline. Then another. Not destroyed. Disabled. Silent EU. And I checked the time. 3 minutes, she said quietly, the council realized. Slowly and together, that the war had already begun. But there were no explosions. No screaming warnings. No burning ships. Only absence. The council's networks felt thin. Orders took longer to arrive. Responses arrived out of order. Fleets waited for commands that never came. Sejin looked up from his console, his voice small. They removed our options, he said. The speaker tried to call for an emergency vote. Half the chamber could not connect. Taisu stood still as the system struggled. We will not strike civilians, he said. We will not erase cultures. We will not occupy your worlds, then. Why do this? A delegate demanded. Taisu's answer was immediate. Because you taught us what happens to those who are unready. Silence returned to the hall. This time, it stayed. The stars above continued their slow movement, unaware that the balance beneath them had already shifted. The Galactic Council did not fall into chaos at once. At first, it tried to behave as it always had. Orders were issued. Committees were formed. Emergency signals were sent through official channels. The system followed habit even as habit failed. In the command tier beneath the main hall, analysts stared at their displays in silence. Streams of data moved too fast to track. Human fleet signatures appeared, vanished, appeared again somewhere else. Seijin rubbed his eyes and leaned closer to the screen. The problem was not power. It was not numbers. It was timing. They're not faster ships, he said to no one in particular. They're faster decisions. A senior officer dismissed him with a sharp tone. No species decides faster than council command. Seijin did not argue. He simply enlarged the graph. The human response curve was already complete. Every possible council move branched outward, mapped and weighted. The council's own curve was still forming above them. In the main hall, the speaker attempted to regain control. This is an illegal act, the speaker declared. You will withdraw your fleets and submit to arbitration. Ambassador Taisu listened without reaction. There is no arbitration left, he said. Your fleets are no longer positioned to enforce it. That statement triggered alarms. A council admiral demanded a direct feed from the frontier. The image appeared wide and clear. Council warships floated in formation, weapons charged, waiting. Then the image flickered. One ship lost synchronization. Then another. Command lights dimmed across the formation. They're still intact, the admiral said. Why can't they respond? Yunha answered, her tone steady. Because they cannot agree on what to do, she expanded the feed. Invisible to the eye, layers of interference spread through the fleet's communication net. Not jamming. Not noise. Something more precise. They rewrote our priorities, someone whispered. So, I stepped forward. No, she said. We removed your delays. The council did not understand. She continued, your command requires confirmation. Our systems assume consent unless denied. By the time you decide, we are already finished deciding. In another sector, a council strike group attempted an independent maneuver. Their local commander broke protocol and ordered a jump. The jump failed, not violently. The ships simply returned to where they started, systems locked into safety mode. Seijin watched the logs scroll past. They didn't stop the jump, he said. They convinced the system it already happened. Fear entered the room. The council had always believed in control through structure. through layers, through rules that slowed action but ensured stability. Humanity had learned something different. They had learned how to act without asking permission. On a distant relay station, Council technicians struggled to restore contact. The station lights were on. Power flowed normally, but every message sent outward returned unchanged, as if reflected. "They're not cutting us off," the technician said. "They're holding us in place." Back in the hall, a delegate demanded to know when the first human attack would come. Taesu's answer was quiet. It already did. The room went still. Yunha displayed a map of Council logistics. Supply routes glowed across the stars. Then, one by one, the glow faded. "You are not losing ships," she said. "You are losing certainty," military theorists protested. "This violates every accepted rule of engagement." Sora looked at him. "Those rules were written by those who had time," she said. "We do not." Another alert sounded. A civilian transport had entered a conflict zone. Council defense systems moved to intercept. Human ships adjusted position instantly. Placing themselves between the transport and danger, they're protecting our civilians, someone said, confused. Taisu nodded. "We do not need your people to fear us." The Council tried to form a counter-strategy. Emergency coalitions were proposed. Shared command protocols were suggested. The votes failed to register in time. Every attempt to centralize action made the delay worse. Sajin stood slowly from his seat. His voice shook, but he spoke clearly. "We can't fight this like a council war," he said. "We can't fight it at all." No one answered him. In human space, Hannah watched the same data from a different angle. She stood in a quiet room, surrounded by simple displays. No single screen mattered. Each showed part of a larger whole. Her teams did not wait for orders. They shared intent. When one system failed, another adjusted. A junior officer asked, "Should we advance further?" Hannah shook her head. "Hold," she said. "Let them see." Minutes passed. In the council hall, the speaker's voice finally lowered. "What is it you want?" The speaker asked. Taisu did not hesitate. "We want you to stop," he said. "Stop expanding without consent. Stop deciding for others. Stop assuming time belongs to you." The speaker looked around the hall. Many seats were dark now, not empty, just disconnected. "And if we refuse?" the speaker asked. Yunha checked the timer. "Then the next phase begins." "Oh," she said. No one asked what that meant. They already understood. The council had planned for a long war. Humanity had planned for minutes, and those minutes were almost over. The Galactic Council had always believed that war was a test of strength. Bigger fleets, stronger weapons, thicker armor. For thousands of cycles, that belief had been enough. Now, strength sat unused in empty space. Council ships floated where they had always floated. Weapons were charged. Crews were ready. But no clear command reached them. Every order arrived late, conflicted with another, or was locked behind safety confirmations that never cleared in one fleet command center. Officers argued over which signal was real. "Follow primary command," one said. "There is no primary," another replied. "It keeps changing." The screens showed human ships nearby. They did not fire. They did not advance. They simply stayed where they were, always in the right place. A veteran captain whispered, "They are hurting us." Back in the council hall, panic spread in quieter ways. Delegates stopped speaking loudly. They leaned close to their translators. They watched the humans more than the displays. Mira, a council aide assigned to record the session, found her hand shaking. She had studied 100 wars. None of them looked like this. There were no battle cries, no threats, only waiting. She glanced at the human side. Ambassador Taisu stood with his hands folded. Yunha studied shifting data. Sora watched the room itself, not the screens. Mira realized something that made her chest tighten. They were not reacting. They were observing. The Council Weapons Director stood and spoke sharply. "You claim restraint, yet you cripple our fleets. You disable our reach. This is domination." Isu turned toward him. "This is interruption," he said. "You may still choose your future." The director laughed, but the sound was hollow. "Choose? You leave us nothing to choose with." Unha lifted her eyes. "That is not true," she said. "You still have trust. We do not touch that." The room fell quiet. Trust was not a system. It could not be measured or repaired. Mira saw several delegates look away. In a distant council shipyard, engineers tried to manually override automated locks. The old methods failed. The newer ones failed faster. They built everything to assume cooperation, an engineer said. If one part says no, everything stops. That had once been a strength. Now it was a cage in human command space. Hannah watched the council's struggle with careful focus. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. "Hold pattern," she repeated to her teams. "Do not escalate." A tactical officer asked, "What if they regroup?" "They won't," Hannah said. "They are still arguing about who speaks." She had studied council history. It was full of meetings that lasted longer than wars. Back in the hall, the speaker attempted to restore unity. "We must respond together," the speaker urged. "Fragmentation will destroy us." Myra watched as the words failed to land. Some delegates no longer trusted the speaker. Others feared that any unified action would be predicted before it formed. Fear moved faster than authority. A message arrived from a frontier world. Civilian ports were asking who controlled the space lanes, so answered before the speaker could speak. "You do," she said. "We have not changed that." The speaker stared at her. "Then why are they afraid?" "Because for the first time," Sora replied, "they see how fragile your protection was." The truth hurt more than any weapon. Another analyst burst into the chamber, breath unsteady. "They're shutting down our war planning models," he said. "They are not," Una replied calmly. "We are feeding them complete data." The analyst froze. "Complete?" "Yes," she said. "Every outcome." The council had never allowed itself to see failure clearly. Simulations always assumed recovery, always assumed time. Human models did not. They included collapse. They included fear. They included disagreement. Mira felt sick as she read the projections. In nearly all of them, the council lost without a final battle, not because it was weak, but because it could not decide what it was willing to lose. A senior delegate stood slowly. "If we surrender now," he said, "what becomes of us?" Taisu answered without delay. "You continue," he said, "but not as you were." The delegate's voice broke. "And if we fight?" Yuna's reply was soft. "Then you spend your strength proving a lesson we already learned." Silence stretched in that silence. Mira understood. Humanity's real advantage. They had learned to accept loss early. They built systems that expected failure and kept moving. The council had built systems that denied it. Another fleet report arrived. A council task force attempted to fire on a human ship. The weapons did not discharge. Safety. Locks engaged. The crew watched in horror as the human ship drifted closer. "Still not firing? They're not stopping us by force," the captain said. "They're stopping us by permission." Permission was the council's foundation. It was also its weakness. Back in the hall, Tisu spoke again. "This war does not end with your defeat," he said. "It ends with your choice." The speaker looked older than moments before. Around the chamber, delegates lowered their voices. Some closed their eyes. Mira finished, her record with hands that no longer shook. She wrote one line she knew would be remembered. The Galactic Council did not lose its war because it was outgunned. It lost because it could not move faster than its own fear. The Galactic Council no longer felt like a single body. It felt like many small groups sharing the same room but not the same future. Delegates whispered in private channels. Some demanded resistance. Others asked for terms. A few simply stayed silent, afraid that any clear position would be remembered. The speaker watched this slow collapse, felt something close to grief. For the first time, the council understood that unity was not guaranteed by tradition. It required belief, and belief was breaking. A delegate from a border alliance stood and spoke without waiting for permission. "We cannot trust Central Command anymore," he said. "We should negotiate separately." The hall reacted sharply. Voices rose. Accusations followed. Mira recorded every word. Knowing this moment would be studied for generations, Taisu did not interrupt. He allowed the council to fracture on its own. Yunha leaned closer to him. "They're accelerating," she said quietly. Taisu nodded. "Yes, faster than expected." The human plan had accounted for resistance, for denial, for anger. What it had not needed to create was fear. Fear grew by itself. In distant space, several council fleets attempted a final coordination effort. They opened direct commander-to-commander channels, bypassing central authority. The result was worse. Each fleet received a different picture of the situation. Each believed the others were compromised. None trusted shared data. One commander made the decision to withdraw. Another chose to advance. They nearly collided. Human Gyps adjusted instantly, placing themselves between the fleets, forcing both to stop. No shots were fired. "This is impossible," one commander said. "They're managing us better than we manage ourselves." Back in the council hall, the speaker finally asked the question no one wanted to hear. "If we accept your ceasefire," the speaker said, "what happens to the council?" Sora answered this time. "It changes," she said, "or it becomes a memory." The speaker closed their eyes. Around the chamber, delegates realized something painful. Humanity was not trying to rule them. Humanity was deciding whether the council was still useful. A security alert sounded. Not from space, but from inside the council network. Internal systems were fragmenting. Databases refused synchronization. Legal archives showed conflicting versions of the same law. "They're hacking us," someone accused. Yunha shook her head. "No, your systems are arguing with themselves. If the council had always relied on shared truth, enforced by authority, now authority was uncertain, and truth split apart." Mira felt a strange calm settle over her. Panic had passed. What remained was clarity. She looked at the humans again. They were not cruel. They were not proud. They were patient. A delegate from a younger species stood. "If we stand with humanity," she asked, "will we survive this?" Taisu met her gaze. "If you stand with reality," he said. "Yes." Several delegates exchanged looks. The council's greatest fear had always been precedent. To change once meant change could happen again. Humanity had forced that moment in human command space. Hannah watched as alliance indicators flickered. "Some are aligning," an officer said. Hannah nodded. "Let them choose," she replied. No pressure. Pressure was unnecessary. Time itself was doing the work. Back in the hall, the speaker called for a vote on immediate ceasefire terms. Only a fraction of seats responded. The result was unclear. The speaker's voice weakened. "We no longer have quorum," they said. The words echoed like a verdict. The Galactic Council, as it had existed, could no longer make decisions. Taisu stepped forward one last time. "We will hold our position," he said. "For a short time." "How long?" Someone asked. "Minutes." Yunha answered. "Was when the truth fully settled." Humanity had not shattered the council with force. It had simply revealed that the council could not act under pressure. Delegates began to leave the hall, one by one. Some transmitted acceptance of ceasefire terms. Others withdrew to consult their own governments. The great chamber emptied faster than anyone believed possible. Mira saved her final record and stood alone for a moment. She looked up at the moving stars and understood what this war truly was. Not a conquest, a test. And the council had failed it. Humanity was solving problems alone, Hannah explained. We are good at it. But imagine what we could do together. Not with us doing the work for you, but with true collaboration. Each species brings their unique perspective and knowledge. Together, we become stronger than any of us alone. The database went online within a month. At first, other species were hesitant to contribute. Pride made them reluctant to admit they had anything to learn. But as they saw the value of shared knowledge, the contributions increased. Within 6 months, the Galactic Commons contained innovations from 400 species. Problems that had seemed impossible were being solved through collaborative effort. 3 months after humanity's return, Council Prime Velos requested a private meeting with Commander Day. They met in a small conference room. Just the two of them. Velos needed to ask the question that had been haunting him. When you were here before, Velos began carefully. How much were you holding back? Day considered lying. Diplomacy suggested he should soften the truth, but he decided honesty would serve better now. Everything. Our true population is 5 times what we reported. Our actual territory, we explored 4,000 systems beyond what we claimed. Our technological level is about 200 years ahead of what we shared. Our military capability, those patrol ships you saw, were training vessels. Our actual warships stayed in human space. Velos processed this information. His mind struggled with the implications. Why? Why hide so much? Because we learned from our own history, Day explained. When one group is too powerful, others fear them. When others fear you, they attack. Even if it is irrational, even if they cannot win. Fear makes people do stupid things. We wanted to be part of the galaxy, not rulers of it. So we made ourselves seem manageable. Helpful, but not threatening. And now you know us. You have seen what happens without us. You have seen what happens with us. The question is not whether we are powerful. The question is whether you trust us to use that power wisely. Velos was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke quietly. We do. Not because of what you did these past months, but because of what you did before. When we never knew, never thanked you, treated you as inferiors. You helped us anyway. That is not power. That is character. Then we can build something better together. Not a hierarchy with humans at the top. A community where everyone contributes according to their abilities and receives according to their needs. That sounds idealistic. It is. But humans are very good at turning ideals into reality. Given enough time, 2 years after humanity returned to galactic space, the Council held a ceremony at the newly constructed station, Unity. The station was massive, built jointly by 50 species using combined human and alien technology. It floated at the exact center of Council space, a symbol of the new era they were building together. Commander Day stood at the window of his quarters and watched. Ships arrived from across the galaxy, vessels from hundreds of worlds, coming to celebrate what they were calling the Great Reconciliation. But Day knew this was not really a reconciliation. This was a beginning. The first real beginning of true galactic cooperation. The changes over the past 2 years had been profound. The Council had restructured itself completely, adopting what they now called the human protocols. Any species could leave the Council without penalty. All members had to be transparent about their contributions. Technology was shared freely, but with proper education. No species was judged as inferior. And perhaps most importantly, the galaxy maintained strong defenses because they had learned that strength prevented war rather than caused it. Humanity's role in the new Council was unique. They were not rulers, but they were acknowledged as the galaxy's protectors. The first among equals, with all the responsibility that implied. Other species had stopped pretending they did not need humanity's help. Instead, they worked to become worthy partners. Lieutenant Nari, now promoted to captain, entered Day's quarters. She carried a data pad with the latest reports. Sir, the exploration teams have returned with interesting news. Captain Jin found something unusual in the deep dark. Day took the pad and read through Jin's report. His eyes widened. Ancient technology. How ancient? Billions of years, according to the dating. And sir, it is still active. Still functioning? Captain Jin says it appears to be some kind of gateway network, but not like anything we have seen before. These gates could connect to other galaxies? Day felt a chill run down his spine. Other galaxies. The implications were staggering. Has she activated any of them? No, sir. She is waiting for your orders. And she suggests this might be something the whole council should know about. Day nodded slowly. A year ago, humanity would have kept this secret. They would have explored it alone, trusting no one else with such powerful technology. But things were different now. They had built something worth preserving, a community of species working together. Send a message to Captain Jin. Tell her to secure the site, but do not activate anything. Then, schedule a full council briefing. Everyone needs to know about this. The briefing 3 days later filled the council chamber. Captain Jin presented her findings using holographic displays that showed the ancient structures in stunning detail. The gates were massive, kilometers in diameter, built from materials that human science could barely analyze. They pulsed with energy that suggested they were waiting to be used. We believe these gates are part of a network, Jin explained. A network that spans multiple galaxies. Someone built them a very long time ago. Someone far more advanced than any of us, and they left them here waiting. Counselor Yara leaned forward in her seat. Waiting for what? We do not know, Jin admitted. But I think we need to decide together what to do about them. This is not just humanity's discovery. This is everyone's discovery. The debate lasted for hours. Some species wanted to activate the gates immediately. The promise of new galaxies, new worlds, new knowledge was too exciting to resist. Others urged caution. Ancient technology could be dangerous. There could be reasons the builders had abandoned the network. Finally, Velos called for a vote. Not on whether to explore, but on how to explore. Should one species investigate alone, or should they send a joint mission representing all of Council space? The vote was unanimous. Joint mission. Whatever waited on the other side of those gates, the galaxy would face it together. 3 months later, the combined exploration fleet prepared to launch. 20 ships from 15 different species. Human vessels provided the core military protection and advanced sensors. Yevran ships contributed their crystalline computing power. Corvin ships brought their quantum technology. Vordan ships carried enough supplies to sustain the mission for years. Every species contributed something unique. Ambassador Hannah attended the launch ceremony. She was old now, her hair completely gray, her face lined with age. But her eyes were still sharp, still filled with the idealism that had driven her entire life. She stood at the podium to address the assembled crews. You are about to do something unprecedented, she told them. You are going to step through a gate into the unknown as representatives of our entire civilization, not as separate species competing for glory. Not as rivals trying to prove superiority, but as a community working together toward a common goal. She paused and looked at the faces in the crowd. Human faces and alien faces, all listening together. My generation made many mistakes. We let pride and fear divide us. We built walls when we should have built bridges. But you, the next generation, you have the chance to do better. You have the chance to show what we can accomplish when we work together. The galaxy is vast, Hannah continued. And if these gates work as we believe, the universe is even more vast than we imagined. There will be challenges ahead. There will be dangers. There will be moments when cooperation seems difficult or impossible. But remember this moment. Remember what we built together? Remember that our strength is not in our individual power, but in our unity. The fleet launched the next day. Captain Sung commanded the lead ship, a joint human-Corvin vessel called the Pioneer. As they approached the first gate, Sung activated the communication channel that connected all 20 ships. This is Pioneer to all ships. Gates are activating. Energy levels rising. Whatever happens next, it has been an honor to work with all of you. He paused. Let us go see what is waiting for us out there. The gates opened like flowers blooming in space. Light spilled out, beautiful and terrible in its intensity. The fleet moved forward together, 20 ships disappearing into the light, leaving known space behind. Back on Station Unity, Day watched the telemetry until the ships vanished beyond sensor range. He felt Nari standing beside him. Do you think they will be okay? She asked quietly. Yes, Day replied with confidence. Because they are not alone. They have each other. That is humanity's real gift to the galaxy. Not our technology, or our military power, or our scientific knowledge. Our gift is showing everyone that together, we are stronger than apart. The telemetry screen showed nothing but empty space where the fleet had been. But Day was not worried. He knew that somewhere on the other side of those gates, the fleet was beginning humanity's greatest adventure. And this time, humanity was not exploring alone. On Earth, in the academy where Ambassador Hannah had taught for years, her students gathered for their final examination. The test was simple. Explain humanity's role in the galaxy. The students wrote long essays filled with facts and analysis. But one student, a boy named Quan, wrote something different. Humanity's role is not to be the strongest, or the smartest, or the most advanced. Humanity's role is to be the bridge. We connect people who thought they could not be connected. We solve problems that others thought were impossible. We show everyone that the things that divide us are smaller than the things that unite us. That is our role. That is our purpose. That is our power. Hannah read Quan's answer and smiled. She gave him the highest marks, not because his answer was the longest or the most detailed, but because he understood. He truly understood what humanity had been trying to teach the galaxy all along. Dr. Suji retired from active medical service, but continued teaching at the Yevron Medical School. Her former student Mira now ran the largest hospital on the Yevron homeworld. Together, they trained doctors from 20 different species, passing on knowledge that would save billions of lives in the coming decades. Engineer Tay opened a technical school on station. Unity that accepted students from every council species. The entrance requirements were simple: commitment to learning and willingness to teach others. His most successful student was Engineer Mosh, who went on to design the next generation of fusion reactors, using principles from human and Corvin technology combined. Trade Minister Bora helped establish economic partnerships that lifted 300 species out of poverty within 5 years. She proved that fair trade was not just morally right, but economically superior. When she finally retired, she left behind a galactic economy that was more stable and prosperous than anything the Council had known. Before, Admiral Krivos worked closely with human, military advisors to train the next generation of Council defense forces. He learned that the goal of military power was not to win wars, but to prevent them. Under his leadership, galactic conflicts dropped to their lowest levels in recorded history. Counts. Council Prime Velos served another 10 years before retiring. His final speech to the Council was simple. I was wrong about humanity. We all were. We saw them as a threat when they were actually our salvation. Not because they were stronger than us, but because they chose to use their strength to help rather than harm. May we all learn from their example? Commander Day eventually left government service and joined the exploration fleet. At 60 years old, he felt he had spent enough time in politics. It was time to see what else the universe had to offer. His ship was heading toward the gates. Following the path Captain Sung and his fleet had taken 2 years earlier, the gates were still active, still waiting. The first fleet had not returned yet, but regular telemetry indicated they were safe and making remarkable discoveries. They had found inhabited galaxies, civilizations that had never known about Council space, ancient ruins that predated everything, wonders beyond imagining, and they had found something else, evidence that the gate builders had left a message for whoever was advanced enough to find and use the gates. The message was simple. The universe is vast and full of life. Some of that life is friendly, some is not, but none of you are alone. We built these gates so that civilizations could find each other, so that knowledge could be shared, so that strength could be united against the darkness that waits in the deep spaces between galaxies. Use these gates wisely. Help each other. And when you are ready, when you have truly learned to work together, there is another network waiting, one that goes even further. A day. Read the translated message and felt something profound settle in his chest. Understanding. The gate builders had faced the same challenges humanity and the Council were facing now. The challenge of bringing different peoples together. The challenge of building unity from diversity. The challenge of creating something greater than the sum of its parts. And they had succeeded. They had built a network spanning galaxies. They had left behind technology that lasted billions of years. They had created something that endured long after they themselves had gone. Now, it was humanity's turn. Humanity and the Council together, to use these gifts wisely. To continue building, to keep exploring, to keep learning, to keep growing. Day's ship approached the gate. He activated the communication system one last time before crossing through. "This is Commander Day to Station Unity. We are proceeding through the gate. I do not know what we will find on the other side, but I know we will face it together. All of us, every species, every world, every person who believes in building rather than destroying. That is humanity's true power. Not what we can do alone, but what we can inspire others to do with us." The gate opened. Light flooded the cockpit. Day took a deep breath and guided his ship forward, into the unknown, into the future, into the vast universe that waited to be explored. Behind him, the galaxy continued its work, building, learning, growing, no longer dependent on humanity to solve every problem, but strong enough to solve their own. Ready to face whatever challenges came next? Not as separate species competing for survival, but as a united community working together toward something greater than any of them had dreamed possible. That was the lesson humanity had taught the galaxy. That was the gift they had given. That was their true power. The moment humans left, the galaxy had fallen apart. The moment humans returned, the galaxy had learned to build itself back stronger. And now, as humans ventured forth again into even greater unknowns, the galaxy was ready to follow, ready to grow, ready to become something truly extraordinary together.